Hello. Before we jump into today's podcast, which is an awesome one, I just wanted to do a quick shout out that in the month of May, it is Natural Medicine Week, which is a beautiful week. Actually, this year it is for a whole month. Natural Medicine Week is run by Australian Traditional Medicine Society, and I am the ambassador for Natural Medicine Week for the fourth year in a row, which I'm really proud of because I love to share the power that can come when you use natural medicine in resolving health issues. So this year I have been asked to co-host a webinar on Tuesday, the 6th of May at 12 p.m. Sydney, Australia time. And my webinar is all about the 3 steps to end your mind-body burnout. So if you're someone who's struggling with burnout, energy issues, gut issues, mood swings, inflammatory symptoms, and you're running this perpetual cycle of stress, overwhelm, overdoing, people pleasing, then this webinar is for you. What we'll be covering is how burnout is impacting your health and your life. I'll go over the 3 essential steps to end your body burnout for good. I'll also cover why your symptoms keep returning, even though you might be eating a good diet, taking the supplements, or doing the protocols. And we'll be uncovering and showing you how to heal the deepest root causes of body burnout, including stress patterns and past trauma. And finally, I will go over the importance of functional lab testing and looking deeper into your body systems and how to actually do these tests and why these tests go beyond what GPs, medical specialists test for, and how it can help you in your healing journey. So if you would like to come along to this webinar, I'll pop in the show note links the link that you can join. It is free, and yeah, I'd love to see you there and to celebrate natural medicine.
Hello and welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. We are your hosts, Chris and Philly, co-founders of a multi-award-winning functional medicine practice, serving busy people with energy, mood, and gut issues.
While busyness, addictive doing, people-pleasing, and perfectionism might be the norm, it's not normal, and it's a major contributor to health issues.
Our goal with this show is to give you a holistic root cause approach to healing your body so that you don't have to continue doctor or diet hopping or popping a gazillion supplements hoping something might stick.
So get ready to heal your body, get your spark back, deeply connect with yourself, and step into the life of your dreams.
Let's dive in. G'day guys, and welcome to this episode of the Ending Body Burnout Show. Today's a good one.
Yeah, we're going to talk all about rewiring the brain.
Yes.
And there's a reason for that. So we are 1 month out to opening our doors again to the Ending Body Burnout Method program, which is our signature 6-month holistic healing, deep root cause program that gets to the bottom or the root of why you're running busy, burnt out patterns, and we work with our clients to heal the body systems as well. So if you've been following along for a while and your heart is being saying yes, jump on down to the show notes to join the waitlist. I would recommend popping your name on the waitlist for a couple of reasons. 3 reasons. 1, so you're first to know when doors open. But also everyone on the waitlist gets access to our exclusive waitlist bonuses that are worth over $500. So it's definitely worth popping your name down for that. And also because our program includes one-on-one consults and coaching sessions, we only have limited space and we do sell out by the end of launch week. So definitely pop your name down on there so you don't miss out on a spot. So that's coming up in May, and something else to really help you to experientially experience. What's that? Like a double experientially experience what it's like to work with us. We hold a free coaching week during the week of doors being open to our Ending Body Burnout Method program, and we are bringing bringing back our most popular free coaching week that we've done in the past, called Rewire the Brain to Heal Body Burnout. It was awesome. We had so many people register, attend. We had so much engagement, and we had a lot of people get massive wins and insights and even some transformations just from the free coaching alone. So I definitely encourage you to come along to that. Again, we'll pop that link in the show notes. That will be run over the 20th, 21st and 23rd of May. And then we'll have a webinar a few days later around rewiring the brain, but specifically around helping you to break through healing blocks. So definitely pop your name down for free coaching week. Okay, so we are going to talk about the brain today, and specifically what I call the restrictive protocol trap, and how this becomes your brain's false safety net. And this is a topic that comes from a pattern that we've seen in our practice of clients, and not just our clients, but I see it in the health industry everywhere all the time, of people having a flare up with their health issues, or if improvements, changes aren't happening fast enough, or they get stuck with doing what we call the deeper metaphysical root cause work. And when this happens, so flare, things aren't happening fast enough, or I'm stuck looking at deeper root causes and actually changing the deep reason why I'm stuck in body burnout in the first place, is they'll run this pattern where they run back to a restricted diet or a restricted protocol. And that protocol is usually a physical protocol. So we want to dig into why returning to elimination diets and rigid protocols isn't actually about healing at all. It's your brain's clever way of seeking control. And although it is trying to keep you safe, it will keep you stuck in a perpetual cycle of disease. Okay, so before we go any further, I might just get really clear on what we mean by a restrictive protocol. And I will talk a little bit about this after I go through this list, but just a little pre-frame. None of these things are bad, but we'll talk about when it can show up as unresourceful. So a restrictive protocol might look like a restricted diet where you're eliminating entire food groups. So that, common ones are autoimmune paleo diet, carnivore, low FODMAP, low histamine, the GAPS diet, or you might be on a strict water fasting protocol or a prolonged juice cleanse. There can be some really restrictive and intensive liver kidney cleanses. I've done one of those in the past when I was grasping at trying to get to the root of what was going on with my gut issues. But that's essentially where you drink a lot of Epsom salts and grapefruit juices and you flush out gallstones. I'm sure that anyone who's read the book that I'm referring to knows what I'm talking about. Some people love it. I personally found it very traumatic, and I didn't get long-term results from it. Other ways that this restriction can show up would be obsessing over organic, natural everything, whether it's food or skincare products or cleaning products or EMF products. It can also show up as repetitive lab testing. So it's like, I've done 5 stool tests now and I'm still trying to find the parasite that's not showing up on the test, or chasing the next lab test. I've had some clients in the past say to me, I don't know, I'm not getting better fast enough. What's the next lab test I can do? And I'm like, you know what? There's thousands of lab tests you can do, but I'm not going to prescribe them because that's not the root of what's going on. It could also look like rigid morning routines, rigid sleep hygiene routines where someone's very strict around not being on screens, or doing like a 1-hour sleep hypnosis track, or sitting in the bath. Again, none of these things are bad, but they can start showing up as an unresourceful pattern and can feed your brain into negative loops. So all of those things are more physical protocols, but it can also show up as brain rewiring exercises as well, where you might have a really strict regime around meditation or visualization or breath work or somatic movement, and it must look like this, and you have to do it 2 hours a day. That's probably an exaggeration, but it's kind of like this very forceful, and you keep running back to that protocol when things flare up or things aren't happening fast enough.
I think it can also be, so forceful is where you're doing the things, whereas it can also be a fantasy as well, where you're not quite doing the things that are taking you in the right direction. So for example, we see a lot of meditation or hypnosis, or you kind of touched on breath work, cold exposure, ice baths, all this sort of stuff, saunas, massage, stretching, yoga, blah, blah, blah. All this sort of stuff is quite nice. It's pleasurable, but it's not really doing the things that you need to do in order to get to the root cause. Whereas restrictive protocols is forceful. It's a doing of the thing, but there's no joy, no pleasure, that sort of stuff. Hey.
Yeah. And I mean, both of those really come from a deep-seated fear as
Absolutely.
well. So forceful will be fear, like I have to do it fast. I have to do something really intensive, really restrictive to get the thing. But fantasy is coming from fear as well, that it's like, I would just go over here and be airy and fairy and la-di-da-di. And then therefore I don't actually have to look at the root of my own dysfunction and how I created this. And it's called hiding out in blind sight as well, where it's like I am doing the things to help myself, but not the real things that are actually going to make a difference. So as I said before, none of these things are bad. In fact, we might prescribe some of these things to our clients in healing protocols when we're working on changing the physiology of body system burnout. And it might look like a low histamine diet, or add in some saunas because we're in the detox phase, or whatever that is. But if you're noticing a yo-yo pattern of restriction, then loosening up or widening the diet or widening your way of being more flowful and organic, then noticing a pattern of yo-yoing back to running back to a strict protocol when things aren't progressing the way that you hoped for, or something, your body flares up with a symptom, then this is unresourceful. And especially when a person is doing or planning to do or leaning into deeper root cause work of restoring trust with self and the body and rewiring old subconscious beliefs and patterns. So this is when we will see it in our practice, that we'll work on both in our Ending Body Burnout Method program. We're working on the body systems, so physical support and healing. But 90, maybe even 95% of the work is what we call metaphysical healing, where we're really getting to the deep root cause of what's happening in the unconscious mind that is causing this person to run busy, burnout, overdoing, perfectionism, fight, flight, freeze type patterns that is impacting their body systems and actually blocking the body systems from healing. So we'll see this because a lot of our clients have already tried a lot of things when they first work with us. They've tried a lot of physical protocols specifically. And so they'll start doing the deep root cause work and they're getting places, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, they might have a flare up of their symptoms, or they get stuck, or things get too hard. And then a common pattern is they'll run back to a physical protocol that they've used in the past that has helped in the past. So this is kind of what we're talking about in terms of the yo-yo pattern. And this, by the way, like what we're talking about here, there's no judgment around it. And I don't want you to feel like we're judging you, or that you're judging yourself because you're like, oh gosh, I do run these patterns. But I'd actually just invite you to feel into whether you're doing protocols. So if you are on a restricted protocol, for example, just lean into, am I doing this and it feels resourceful? Or am I doing this and it feels unresourceful? So resourceful would be, I'm doing the GAPS diet and it feels so loving and it feels intuitive and my heart space is open and it's really flowful and I'm enjoying it and I'm seeing the results. And I'm also taking full responsibility of my mind and my thoughts and my feelings. That would be resourceful. Unresourceful would be, I'm doing this GAPS diet and there's urgency to get the results and I'm grasping at straws. It's like, what else can I do? How much more restrictive do I have to go? There's force, there's fear, there's urgency underneath it. And there's lack of, so essentially unresourcefulness is lack of trust with self and with your own body's ability to be able to heal. So we'll give you some examples, some real life examples of how this unresourceful yo-yo pattern shows up, and I will use me as the first subject. Again, this is, as we talk about these examples, there's no judgment, and I'm not judging you because I have been there, and also I know that it doesn't feel good being there and it doesn't lead to results. So I had this endless search for the next diet that would fix me. Initially in my healing journey, because I first of all worked on diet and lifestyle, then I found functional medicine. Then I realized I had to go a lot deeper and worked on more of the metaphysical belief work, clearing trauma, all that sort of stuff. So in the beginning, I was fixated on diets. I'm like, there must be, I just haven't found the right diet yet. And I tried a lot of things: keto, paleo, AIP, low histamine, SIBO diet, anti-candida diet. I even did the anti-candida diet and no sugar for a whole 6 months, never wavered. I even created my own super restrictive elimination diet that tried to combine all of those diets I just mentioned in the one diet, which left me very little to eat for 2 weeks. Then came lab testing. So then I found functional medicine, and it started a pattern as well where it's just like, oh, I just haven't got to the right test yet, or I need to retest. Maybe I've missed something. And I think in my journey, I probably did 4 or 5 stool tests, all the same stool test. Now I look back and I'm like, I can see that I was grasping at straws. I was just like trying to find something that maybe the previous stool test missed, or maybe the protocol that I didn't work, and that's why I'm still not better. So I have to retest to see if things have changed or not. I did a couple of Stevo tests as well, and yeah, so that showed up as a pattern for me as well. And then later on in the journey, I figured out that my body was producing too much histamine, and so high histamines became a trigger for me. And even when I was doing the deeper metaphysical work of like, okay, I'm leaning into looking at the deeper beliefs I have about myself and looking at my repressed emotions and the patterns that I'm running and the past distressing events that are all connected to how I'm feeling, I definitely noticed probably for even 4 months into that journey, I kept running back to a low histamine diet. Because I'd have a flare up of heartburn, or my skin would come up in a rash, or whatever else, or my body felt inflamed, and my brain immediately said, it's the food, go back to that low histamine diet. And then I realized that this was a pattern that was feeding a deep belief around being weak and incapable. I'm like, oh my gosh, every time I'm doing this, I'm saying to my unconscious mind and my body that I'm not capable of being well, that I have to keep going back to a restrictive management approach. And when that little light bulb moment came into my mind, then I stopped doing that. And I tell you what, my healing fast-tracked big time. So that's me. We've also, again, this is not one single person, but kind of like a pattern that I would see with clients as well, with this yo-yo back to restrictiveness, is constantly asking for the next supplement. It's almost like, Philly, I've just had this symptom pop up. What should I take? I'm like, hang on. I'm not just going to throw supplements at you. You're already working on the body system, so trust that that's okay. You don't have to run to the next quick fix. And then sometimes this would then show up with them just Dr. Googling because I wasn't playing into the game. And next consult would be like, oh, I'm also taking this, this, and this. And I'm like, what? Why? What's going on here? And that's a great question. What's going on here? It's not around judgment in that it's like, you're an idiot, or like, why are you doing the thing? Or why aren't you listening to me? It's literally like, what is going on here? What's this pattern that you're running, and where is it coming from, and what does it actually mean about you? This can also show up as outsourcing answers to others. So again, it can be a pattern with clients where they have to take on many people's advice. Where let's just say they're working with Chris and I inside our Ending Body Burnout Method program, but then they're also asking Dr. Google and their chiropractor and their friend Julie and their neighbor Ben all the things that they should be doing for this symptom. And this never works, because when you have many voices coming into you that are telling you you should do this, it gets really overwhelming and confusing. And yeah, again, like, what is that saying about you? And what neural pathways is that feeding, that you can't be trusted to make your own decisions? It's going to end up like, it looks like safety. The body or the brain is running those patterns because it feels safe, but it's very dangerous. One last example. Again, this isn't one specific person. It shows up in very similar ways. I actually, oh my gosh, just a couple of days ago, I had a whole day of consults. And I would say 80% of my conversations around people's problems and where they're feeling stuck came back to their marriages. It was like, I think our next book needs to be on relationships and body burnout, because this is coming up again and again and again. So this can show up, and I'll give an example. So a client's doing the work. They're working on the body systems, but they're also working on the deeper metaphysical reasons as to why they're running patterns, why they're feeling sick. And then things get hard. Things get hard in terms of taking action on the deeper roots as to why that person isn't healing. And so I see a pattern here that when it's like, what, does this mean I have to like get a divorce in my marriage, or I have to have a confrontational conversation with my husband? The system kind of like freaks out, and the body then has a flare up. And then what happens is a person can run back to a physical protocol that worked in the past, but only worked for the short term. And so, I mean, this is a real life example. So this woman had got to the root belief. She'd also worked on rewiring it, but she got stuck in what we call purposeful living. So this is where it's like, okay, like, you're now a new person. You have new beliefs about yourself. But it doesn't mean life magically changes. Now you have to start living on purpose, intentionally. And that probably means making some big changes in your life. And she wasn't willing to do this in her marriage. It just got too hard. She didn't even know how. She just got stuck in dropping back into victim and like, it's not me, it's him. I can't change. He has to change. I can't be well until he changes. But I don't know. I feel like I've already spoken to him about it, but he keeps running these patterns. And so what was happening is she had started dropping back into a victim mentality, running rescuer people-pleasing patterns again, and essentially codependent patterns, because she wasn't stepping up to be empowered and to be the leader. And funnily enough, symptoms showed up again. So she continued getting stuck in this cycle of chronic fatigue, crashes, and gut flare-ups. And we had a few coaching sessions around this, and, you know, she was feeling braver, but at the end it was just like, this is too hard. I'm just going to go back to eating a restrictive diet, because that's what my gut is telling me, in terms of my gut is unhappy. I have symptoms, so therefore it must be the food. It must be the food. I need to do a restrictive diet, even though she'd done a bucket load of gut work in the past. And she'd also reintroduced foods back in, initially with good results. So her body didn't flare up because she'd introduced the foods back in. Her body flared up because the issues in her marriage that were unresolved were dangerous. Like, her body was sending her signals of unsafety through her symptoms. Okay. Anything to add?
Yeah. So for a lot of guys, I see these restrictive things not in diet. This might happen in girls as well, female, but I see this a lot with guys who run this masculine energy. Okay, so work, do. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to stop working. I have to keep going. So can I have some more strategies? In exactly the same language as you were saying about diets, just swap the word diet for productivity or action or effort, even into workouts. Like, what are some business strategies? Yeah, what are some business strategies I can do?
What are some time management?
Even and going into the gym, working out. How can I do X, Y, Z? I'm feeling this. What can I do? Blah 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 blah. Like, there's strategy, and we often talk about the three things: stories that you tell yourself, things you believe about yourself to be true. We've got the state that you're in, the way you are, how you are, who you are, these states, and then you've got these strategies, things that you can do, stuff that you can do. And you talked about diets, restrictive protocols, all that sort of stuff. But then there's also restrictive protocols around morning, evening routines. There's restrictive protocols around exercise, productivity, blah, 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 blah. So I see that as well.
I feel like any time it feels restrictive, regardless of what the thing is, it's management. And then therefore there's lack of trust with self. There's something about you as a person that is unsafe. So you have to restrict and manage yourself.
Yeah, I wonder if this person will know who I'm talking about. I love this as an idea, and it's not a problem until it is. So this might work. I actually think it might work for him. But for somebody else, this is a restrictive thing. No chips, chocolate, cakes, and lollies. And there's no joy. And I talk to them about it, and there might not be joy. Sometimes I think this strategy works, but other times it doesn't. So anyway, my point is there can be so many different ways this can show up. So I'm wondering if whoever you are while you're listening to this, dear listener, like, what's your restrictive strategy? What's this look like for you?
Yeah.
Pause it, then come back to us.
Okay, so let's dig into the brain and why we yo-yo back to these either surface level protocols or these restrictive things that we do, even though it won't and doesn't address the deepest root cause. So from a neuroscience perspective, when we experience a flare-up of symptoms or some sort of emotional, mental pain, or we're not progressing fast enough, it triggers the part of the brain that senses danger, which is called the amygdala. It's like, danger, things are going bad for us. Quick, we got to do something. And this part of the brain jumps to trying to gain back certainty and control. So that's kind of its role. It's like to sense danger, and then how can we get rid of that danger as fast as possible? So certainty and control is a primitive response to this. So our brain then will gravitate towards concrete rules when it feels overwhelmed, because rules will feel certain. There will be some sort of control sense underneath it. And so it makes sense that someone would want to yo-yo back to a restrictive way of being, especially if it helped in the past. So that restriction will be like there's certainty around that. It's like no chocolate, chips, cookies, or whatever the other one was, or paleo diet, no grains, no legumes, or the carnivore diet, just eat meat. It's like there's some very concrete rules around these restrictive protocols. So the brain is like, okay, I feel safe now. I've got, I'm in my cage. I'm in my paddock. The gate is closed. The scary fox can't get me anymore. And if that protocol, that restrictive thing has helped in the past, then that's also seeding in past experiences of, and this helped, and this made me feel better. So if I think about the lady with the diet where it's just like, oh, marriage issues, well, can't change any of that. Can't is victim. I will go over here and I will do something I can control, which is eat really restrictive again. And in her brain, it worked in the past in that the bloating, the bowel motions improved. So, there's like a beneficial, what's the word? Kind of like a past positive experience will feed the restrictive protocol or the need for that restrictive protocol. So these restrictions can feel on the surface like a safety blanket or a security blanket or a safety net. But here's what's fascinating, that every time we run back to these rigid protocols or these restrictive ways of being, our brain isn't actually seeking health. It's just seeking safety. So in the long term, it's going to pull you away from health, not move you towards it. And there's some really specific reasons why this doesn't work long term. And we also want to talk about the hidden messages that this like yo-yoing back, running back to restriction, what it's actually sending you, the messages that it's sending to your deeper self. So from a brain-body connection, restriction every time when it feels unresourceful will impact your nervous system. So restriction, even though your brain is like, it's safe, it's certain, there's control. Restriction, if there's no joy, if it's forced, if there's urgency, if there's fear, if there's no fun, if there's pressure and internal or external expectations, it's going to trigger your nervous system to go into fight, flight, or freeze. I've actually seen so many clients not get results they had in the past with restrictive protocols because their brain-body connection has become traumatized by past restrictions. So it might work the second time, it might even work the third time, but if you keep doing it, at some point, it doesn't work anymore because your system is like, we are not going back here. This is not safe anymore. This is traumatic. And that's actually what happened with me with the low histamine diet, actually. It's probably another reason why I finally listened to myself, because I wasn't getting the benefits from it. It's like, oh, what? Now it's just like it's any food that I'm eating that I'm getting triggered by. It's not just histamine foods anymore, and that doesn't work anymore. It can also be consciously stressful. So that what I was talking about before is happening more at an unconscious level, but consciously it can also be stressful. So if you're feeling like you're forcing your healing through restriction, it's going to trigger more stress. Your adrenals are going to produce more cortisol. Your brain is going to produce more adrenaline. So these fight, flight, freeze type stress hormones and chemicals, and this will impact other body systems. So over time, you cannot heal when you're in a stressed state. Actually, not even over time, even acutely. You cannot heal when you're in a stressed state. So if you're continually running back to these restrictions, then you're going to paint yourself into a corner of ill health that will perpetuate every time you do this. It's also requires a lot of self-discipline. If it's not flowful, if it's not joyful, these restrictive protocols, you have to self-discipline your way through it. And eventually that self-discipline will burn out. You'll either have no mental motivation left to do the thing and you'll struggle to stay consistent, or there'll be subconscious self-sabotage where your unconscious mind is like, oh, like really? This again? No, we can't do it. And so all of a sudden it's like, why do I keep eating the chocolate? Or why do I keep doing, I don't know, XYZ? Why do I keep staying up really late watching Netflix? This doesn't make sense. I want to do the thing, but your unconscious mind is playing another game. Or physically, like if your self-discipline has burnt out, physically you will feel exhausted to do the thing. So self-discipline is only ever short-lived, and eventually running back to these restrictions, at some point it just won't work anymore. And again, I've seen that with clients as well. And that's often why they come to work with this, is that they're like, I've tried all the things. And like in the past, I've been so diligent. Like I've been able to stick at something hardcore for like 6 months. But I'm so confused that I can't do it anymore. what's going on, I think you guys can help. Also with the restrictive diets, this one's interesting because consciously, surface level, you might get a benefit from when you go on a restrictive diet where it's like, oh, my body pain's disappeared, or I have more mental clarity, or my gut issues are gone. But when you stay on or keep running back to restrictive diets, it will actually cause more gut issues in the long term. So it will starve out beneficial bacteria, because a lot of these restrictive diets take out fibrous type foods like grains and legumes and fruits. And so every time you're pulling those back out of your diet, your microbiome is starving as well, which then means that pathogens can overgrow. Your microbiome is part of your immune system and your gut lining. So your immune system will get suppressed. It can lead to leaky gut. So long term, it will never lead to long-term healing. Also, if you're obsessively toxin-free, which I also used to be, this can also cause more issues long-term as you lose your resiliency. And I've heard lots of people feel like this as well, where it's just like, yeah, when I went tox-free and everything was organic and natural, I felt so good, but I've noticed every time I've gone into the shops, or every time Granny comes in and is wearing her perfume, my body starts screaming. And it didn't used to do that, but now my system's so hypervigilant. So these restrictions can actually cause more long-term issues because you paint yourself into a corner of, I can only be safe if this thing is never around me. And that again comes back to lack of trust with self and lack of trust in the body. Our bodies are built to be so resilient. Like, they're so smart. They can get rid of stuff from our system. So that is an issue. Anything you want to add to that one?
You're saying all the good things. I love
thanks.
it. Philly's on a preach this episode.
I'm preaching. Okay, so they're the reasons why this doesn't last long term for healing. I want to move into what this is actually telling you at a deeper level. So when you're yo-yoing back to restrictive protocols, what messages or hidden messages are you sending to your unconscious mind and the deepest part of you that wants the best for you? So, and I've mentioned this before, but I'll just reiterate, because this would be the biggest thing, is I can't trust my body. So every time you run back to that external protocol, that external restriction, you're telling your body, yourself, that you can't trust your body. I need external things to heal me. I can't heal myself. I don't have the inner ability to be able to self-heal. So we're essentially telling our brain, don't listen to the body, listen to the protocol or the other person that's telling me the things. The protocol or the other person knows better than me. And so then, therefore, it's just like reinforcing this lack of trust with self and your own intuition. It will also feed unconscious core beliefs about not being able to heal. So some of these deeper unconscious core beliefs, which is a lot of the work that we do with our clients when we're working on metaphysical healing, can sound like, I'm broken, I'm flawed, I'm incapable, I'm weak, I'm undeserving, I'm worthless, I'm lazy. So every time we go back to a restriction, it's reinforcing, I'm not able to heal because I believe this about myself. This running back to restrictions often shows up as perfectionism, all or nothing, overdoing type patterns. So you're perpetuating these patterns every time you're running back to an old restrictive protocol. And we have seen in our practice that this got you in body burnout in the first place. So it's impossible to heal, at least long term, by trying to heal yourself with the same patterns that got you into body burnout in the first place. So you might notice that, oh yeah, like I work way too much and like I'm doing way too much for my family and I never have time for myself. And that feels like a separate category to how you're trying to heal yourself. Your patterns will show up everywhere in every aspect of your life. So this running back to a restrictive protocol is going to reinforce the patterns that caused your sickness in the first place. Also, perfectionism, all or nothing thinking, like it relies on these external rules. which then can cause us to be less in tune with our own internal cues and our own body signals and our own intuition. And so then therefore it's going to create this vicious cycle that we trust outside protocols more than our own wisdom. And that's unsafe. Like a person that doesn't trust themselves, that has to trust everything outside of themselves, your whole system is going to be in fight, flight, freeze. All of them all at the same time, or one showing up in different times in your life. And around that as well, so the safety, not safe to be ourselves, but also we start believing that we can't be safe without rules. So our body becomes our body becomes something that needs to be controlled rather than listened to. And we lose confidence in our natural ability to be able to self-regulate. Okay. I want to end on this because sometimes I'll have clients, or end this section and then we'll move into how to break the cycle. Sometimes I'll have clients sitting in front of me and they're like, I'm so annoyed. I hate this fibromyalgia. This chronic fatigue is so annoying. The bloating's back. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I always say to them, and this often shocks people too, it's like, what if your body isn't the bully, you're the bully? Like even the way that you're talking about your body right now, you're being the bully. Your body signals, that's loving. That's kind. That's lovely. So you're being the bully when you talk about your signals like that. And also when you run back to the restrictive protocols, you become the bully. So you actually start gaslighting your deeper self. You're ignoring the deeper messages as to why the symptoms are there in the first place. It's almost like, I just need to get rid of the pain so I can get on with life. Never works when it's unsafe. You will continue receiving the signals.
So therefore, there's a conflict. You're feeling conflicted, and you can't have a resolution. You can't have peace in a conflict where you don't at least listen to what the other party's saying.
Yeah.
So just take a second and just listen to what that other part of you, that part of you that's expressing the signals, just take a moment and just listen. Be aware. No judging. Just simply sitting at the edge of discomfort and just notice what you notice and just be there with that.
Yeah.
With curiosity and calmness, and then have a conversation with that part of you. And I don't know if that sounds some type of way. Maybe that sounds airy-fairy, or maybe that doesn't sound very practical, but just give it a crack, give it a go. Have a little, just chill out and listen and notice.
If I go back to the stories of clients and their marriage conflicts, so for example, a woman experiences gut pain, the brain automatically says, we need to abort, go back to the anti-inflammatory diet. That's going to fix it. If a woman was able to sit with the signal, the symptom, and actually ask deeper questions, it's like, I know what's happening here. This is because I'm not stepping up and being a leader. This is because I actually think that I'm pretty awesome now, and I deserve more, and I'm worth more. And my partner's behavior, like I can't put up with that anymore. Things need to change. And then action steps to then change the thing. So that's what Chris means in terms of sit with the symptom. And this is really like the last part of our episode today is how to break the cycle. So what is the symptom saying to you? So when you can uncouple the symptom flare restriction loop, then you can start looking at the deeper reasons as to why it's there in the first place. So with our clients, I always, when I'm noticing this pattern, I bring them back. I'm like, mission number 1, solve the deepest root cause belief, because that will switch off your symptom anyway. Not that we're doing it so we can just like shut the body up, but that will be the overflow of what happens when you get to the deepest root cause, which is the deepest fear, the deepest belief, unkind belief that you have about yourself. Health is the default. So where your intention goes, your energy will flow. So you can start breaking that cycle by every time you have a symptom show up, rather than running to the protocol or the restriction, it's like, no, I'm coming back to myself. What is this thing that I need to solve about the deepest part of me? Like an example of that, so when I was breaking this loop of histamine flare up, and then my old pattern was run to the low histamine diet or the next lab test, I started feeling into the sensation. So for example, and it would often show up as heartburn. It was almost like immediately after eating, and it got to a point where it was any food, my gut would flare up, and my brain automatically would go to, it's the food. But I started snipping that thought pattern off and saying to myself, it's not the food. It's not the food. So what for? What for, gut? Why are you telling, what's this thing that you're trying to tell me? If this is no longer about food or pathogens or histamines, even though this is the physical presentation, what are you trying to tell me? And then from there, you can actually get very logical around this, very pragmatic, where we'll write down a list of the top problems or issues that you're currently aware of, because it is usually in that list somewhere, and start leaning into them. And even if you were to rate the problems, one as being most problematic, most distressing in your life at the moment, and start off with that one, start taking some action around actually solving that problem. If it's connected to the symptom will switch off. Like it's that magic. It will just disappear. In our program, Ending Body Burnout Method, we have kind of like unconscious NLP or somatic type processes that can help you to communicate with symptoms. So in the show notes, this will be more for client access, but I'll pop in the show notes the links to those practices. And another question that can be really helpful for getting to the deeper root and to switching off this symptom, run to the protocol, is what are you pretending not to know? It's crazy how many times in a coaching conversation with a client that we ask this, that the client already knows what the issue is. They're just pretending not to know, because once they know, then they're going to have to do something about it if they so choose. So if any of this feels like a stretch, what I would suggest doing is lovingly, with flow, you can also add in the physical protocol, but have a conversation with yourself. So if it feels like a stretch to like completely cut off this restrictive thing that you keep running back to, add it in, but just with a bit more flow, a bit more love, and having a conversation with yourself that you're not doing this as a band-aid. You're not doing it to run away from the deeper issue. You're using it to lovingly help yourself. And I will also listen and take action on the deeper root cause issue at the same time. So, I mean, like recently I used this strategy with a client who was very much stuck in an anxiety loop of my gut flares up. Oh my gosh, what if I have cancer? I have to take action. So it's like, cool, let's just run some stool tests so we can just monitor for blood in the stool for calprotectin, which is an inflammation marker, so that it can quieten down the anxiety loop so she could continue doing the deeper work. And at some point, we'll let go of doing those regular tests to kind of give her a bit of peace of mind. But that was actually needed in order to be able to quieten her mind so that she could continue working on deeper stuff. Okay, well, this has been fun. So just a reminder that If you've loved what we've talked about, I definitely encourage to register for our free coaching week, which is all about rewiring the brain to heal body burnout with flow, not force. And also our doors will be opening to our signature program, Ending Body Burnout Method, which is the best way to work with us to get remarkable results. And I'll pop in the show notes the link for that so you can join the waitlist if you're interested.
Thanks, guys. That was a good one, Phil. You just rattled all of that off like without breathing. That was great. Whew. All right, guys. Have the best week ever. We'll chat to you next time.
Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate you. If you'd like to give us extra smiles, drop us a review and spread the love by sharing this episode.
You can also rate your own state of burnout and the root cause contributors by taking our Ending Body Burnout assessment on our website. And if you're interested in learning about our group or one-on-one Ending Body Burnout programs, shoot us a DM via Instagram or Facebook.
Have the best day ever.